Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Digest. I'm your host, Godfrey Gishuki, and as usual, today is the 15th day of November, the second last month of the year, and the year is coming to a close, but here we are. This is Monday morning. This is the Monday Morning Digest, and today is going to be exciting. So join us in the conversation. We are live on Elevate TV. We are also live on the social media platforms, and I would like you to share the links. Those of you who have already gotten your prompt, and if you haven't, please go to Elevate TV Kenya, and that is on Facebook and or YouTube channel. And please subscribe to any one of those. Follow on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and also press the bell button there, to remind you, so that every time we go live, you can catch up with us. So this morning, I have an interesting guest whom I'm hosting here on Elevate TV. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Glad to be here.
Very good. My guest is Billy Graham Jr., and he's going to be telling us how comes he's called Billy Graham. I think we know the old preacher, famous American preacher called Billy Graham, but we have another Billy Graham Jr. here, live here at the Elevate TV studio. I'm going to be asking him a lot of questions, but let me just share my links. As I always recommend that we share our links, so I'm going to share my links first. Okay, I think I'm sharing that. That's the Facebook, and so make sure you share, and the rest of you can share and make sure everybody is following. So you're going to be asking us questions. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Let me introduce the subject, and then I'll introduce my guest, more fully. We are looking at conquering alcoholism, or conquering alcohol, and we're going to be hearing from one man here who has walked this journey, and he has a story to tell, and I believe it's an exciting story, and especially coming from all the way from Texas in the US of A. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Very good, very good. So is this your first time in Kenya? So maybe we can start from that, and yeah.
No, this is actually my second time in Kenya. I was blessed enough to come back to the motherland, which I feel like I'm at home, back in July. Had the lovely Dr. Ruben West. He put together a Live Your Best Life tour. Okay. And I was able to be a part of that, and he kept it going, and it came back again. Everybody loved it, and he brought the Live Your Best Life tour back, and I'm here for a second time. Thank you for to be on this stage talking to you.
Very good, very good. Yeah, so Billy, so we are very happy to have you, and to have you on this morning show. And I'm excited that we can talk about some of these issues. So I think we can start with the backstory, of the set. We'll talk about the backstory. We all have somewhere where we're coming from. So if you can fill us up, where you're born, and, and your story growing up in, your hometown, and so we can start from there. Then we just roll. And let's talk about this story, because I think a lot of our viewers would like to hear, what happens. We all are excited. We hear big stories. When we watch American movies, so that gets very exciting, isn't it? So, but then now we have the idea that now you are here live. Yeah, so you can tell us. Let's begin with the backstory.
So I'm originally from Houston, Texas, born in '81. So back when I was growing up, Houston, Texas was considered the 4th largest city in the United States. Mm-hmm. It's currently now the 3rd largest city in the United States. Okay. So things were very diverse for me growing up. I met people from different walks of life, different backgrounds. They had different beliefs. So I had friends from all different types of cultures. So I got to see and dabble in a little bit of both sides of all the different cultures, not just focus on one, which also helped shape me into being able to have a diverse relationship with others as I met them as well, thanks to being born in the greatest city in the United States, Houston, Texas.
Absolutely, absolutely. Who do we know in Houston? Houston is the home of, you know, especially the preachers. You know, we on this other side, we know the preachers. I think home of Joel Osteen.
Yep.
Is T.D. Jakes based in Texas?
He does. He's based, but he also has, as you know, multiple places all around.
Okay, okay. So I think it's Joel Osteen,
yes,
and their church in Houston. So and of course Texas and the movies and all the big stories coming from there. So that's where you grew up. So let's talk about you know, of course, our subject today. We're going to be looking at alcoholism, you know, and all those sort of things, you know, with a focus on addiction. And I think we want to really go straight into that.
Yes.
So tell us, you know, how did you get into this trouble? Let's call it trouble in general.
So we'll dive back into that because it's trouble, but it's also not trouble. So for me, it started like anybody else, like it was experimenting.
Yes.
It was the thing. It was not necessarily the thing to do, but it's like any teenager, you dabble in things. And one of those things for me happened to be alcohol. Once I got to like college ages and went off to school, obviously no parent supervision around.
Yes.
You can kind of sneak and get away with certain things that you can't get away with in mom's house.
Yeah.
Then it led from college to joining the military at the age of 19.
Mm-hmm.
So on my 20th birthday, I was already in the military. So again, it was my first duty station was in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Those that know Charleston area, it's a college town. Mm-hmm. So it's like multiple colleges. So it's easy to get into college parties, and guess what? Mm-hmm. Alcohol is there.
Yeah. Yes.
So it started off as that peak of, oh, alcohol is what you use to have fun.
All right.
We're having fun, we're partying, we're drinking, having a good time, or at that moment you think you're having a good time, not realizing that you're slowly over time becoming dependent on thinking that you have to have alcohol in order to have fun or have pleasure.
Right, right. Okay, so I think we'll return to that story of of Charleston and you know, your college years and how you then, like many young people who also tend to actually fall into the same pit. You know, you just get into this culture of party and having a good time. You're college students, you're free, you're away from your family. And, you know, a lot of people then end up in all sorts of scenarios. But let's go back to your family. Did you grow up with your mom and dad and all that? How was family like, and how many are you in your family?
So I am an only kid. I'm one of those people that were very blessed. My mom and dad were in my life. Even though they did separate early when I was younger, they both played an active role in my life. I didn't have the situation where like a parent split, one parent just disappears and you never see them again till later. Like they were very active, even when my parents remarried and other step siblings came around, which of course I call them brothers and sisters regardless, because my parents didn't believe in that separation of family. Like even though they were new people that were brought on, whether it be a stepmom or a stepdad, yeah. They didn't believe in separating the two. Like we grew up in a community that we took in kids or other people that needed help, and we didn't look at them as though they weren't part of our family.
Okay.
So I had a great family dynamic. I was blessed. I did not have any issues in that area. That I will just say that nothing that my parents or my family did had anything to do with me leading towards alcohol.
Okay, okay. I think it's very important to clarify that, because I think there is a general
yes.
narrative out there. You know, all these alcoholics, you
yes.
know,
yes.
all these guys, their dad weren't there to tell them not
no.
to drink the alcohol to go into that trouble. Actually, so it can happen to people that are surrounded by very loving people, that have people that care for them. Their mom yes. and dad are very much around them. But nonetheless, as they grow up, they just, you know, slide into
exactly.
Into trouble. So. Very good. So, how about your brothers and sisters? And are you like the oldest? What happened to them in terms of their careers? Maybe let's talk about career. Before there was the military bit. Is that really like after you came out of high school, military was your next you know, move or something?
Yes. So I did it. I did a year and a half in college.
All right.
And then during that year and a half, the second half of the year, right before Christmas break, it wasn't alcohol related, but those friendships that were made during alcohol, because I also played sports in college, played basketball. And those friends that were made on the basketball teams, we all did stuff together. And so for some unfortunate events, and because of how laws are made in Texas, I was kicked out of school, which ultimately led to me going towards the military.
Okay.
The military is where I spent the next 20 years of my life. I did a whole 20-year military career.
Wow.
And retired from the military. But during that time, that's when that alcohol went from the college years of having fun with it till the military where I was in. Certain things happened that made me lean on the alcohol to go back to find those moments of just being released, like avoiding life, finding a way to just be by myself. So the alcohol was one of those things that I turned to use as a depressant, as you can say.
Okay. That's a very, very interesting story. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you follow this conversation, let's just make sure that I'm getting your comments live here on Elevate TV. Please share your questions or comments and let us know how this conversation is going. If you have any questions to ask, please let's hear your questions, and so that then we can keep the conversation going. All right. So we are talking to Billy Graham Jr., and he's telling us about his story and how it transformed. He spent some years, 20 odd years in the military. I think we want to hear that story a little bit, So where were you? Tell us about, because, the reason why we are pursuing this is because all that is part of the real story. We all,
yes.
Career and all that. So 20 years is a long time. And if you joined the military when you were like, what age did you join the military?
I went in at 19 and I turned 20 shortly after.
Okay, so you actually left the military not long ago.
Nope, I've retired this year in February officially.
Wow. So, wow, that's a very interesting story. So, military and then alcohol. I think that's where we want to now link. How was your, experience in the military? I know that's a very big question. It's open, but you can tell us where you went, what was the most exciting thing about it. And I'm sure you also had a great time.
Yes.
Serving the nation and, being a good guy.
Yes.
And the disciplines. There are a lot of wonderful things, I imagine. Yes, so tell us about that.
So, just for a little clarity, so I don't want anybody can get anything confused, because everybody has a day-to-day work life, school life, or anything.
Yeah.
The military necessarily was not the issue that led to alcoholism.
Yes.
Just like anybody else's job or school, whatever drives them.
Yeah.
We have to understand that the job or the school, that's not the underlying issue of why you turn to a certain substance or whatever your addiction is.
Yes.
There were things that added up and mounted up. It's like the thing where you keep adding pressure and pressure, eventually it's going to explode.
Right.
So throughout my time in the military, of course, I joined in 2001, and as everybody knows, shortly after me joining, we had September 11th.
Right.
That led to various things, from deployments and everything to different countries, being separated from family. So the military did build that brotherhood, sisterhood, that not just within my section of the military, which was the Air Force, but we also became brothers and sisters with our other components of the military, from the Army to the Marines to the Navy. So it was like we leaned on each other. Throughout those times, we went through things, we saw things, we dealt with things that the normal person you would think wouldn't deal with, especially at the age of 19 or 20. Think about it, at the age of 21 is the legal age to be able to buy alcohol. But for most people, by the age of, in the military especially, by the age 18, 19, 20, you've seen and done things or witnessed things that most adults that are 40, 50 never will see. And so, not saying that added or was the reason behind addictions, because everybody has their various addictions, but I cannot lie and say that didn't play a role into why I leaned to certain addictions, for mine being alcohol,
right,
for being my coping mechanism.
Yes. Okay. Very well. Very well. So So let's come to the issue, because those that are following us, I'm sure they would like to hear, the journey, the recovery, and but we can also maybe talk about how did you find Christ, and so that's an important part of that puzzle. At what point did you turn to Christ? Because of the set, we talked about your spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, again, I told you, my parents, they were there. That my grandma, especially, love her to death. God rest her soul, rest in heaven. I was introduced to Christ from day one.
Okay.
So Christ has always been a part of my life. That's one of those big things I want people to understand with addiction. It's not that your parents did something wrong. It's not that your work or your job or the school had anything to do with it. It's not that you did not have faith in Christ or whatever your religion may be, because your religion is your religion, your spiritual beliefs are your beliefs.
Yes.
That's not necessarily what drives the addiction.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, most addicts don't even realize they're addicts. We can actually see the addictions others have within themselves,
yes,
but we never notice our addictions within ourselves. It's one of those sayings where it's easier to look from the outside looking in. Well, for you to realize you have an addiction, you must first look inner at yourself. So I can obviously say I can see this person's addiction, whether it be, they're addicted to love, they're addicted to work, they're addicted to family, they're addicted to, because everybody has some type of addiction, but until you look within yourself, you don't even realize that's your addiction. So it wasn't even till years down the line that I was able to look at myself and be like, wow, I think I'm addicted to this alcohol, because I realized that I became so dependent on it in my life, from my day-to-day life.
Okay. And I think that's very interesting, because I guess one of the key to recovery is discovery. Yeah, so maybe we can talk about that. The key to recovery is discovery. Talk about that.
So the first time, because discovery, if you think about it, is no different than anything dealing with science. It's no different than when your kids, obviously, if you have kids, they notice something about themselves or about the world. Discovery just doesn't happen the first time you see it.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to, I think I saw that before. Or
yes,
I saw that happen before. So for me, that first time with discovery is like, man, I normally don't wake up late, but today I didn't even know I would sleep that long. Second time of discovery, like, I don't even remember what happened last night. What did I do? Like, I just know I had some drinks. Third time for discovery is like, wow, I'm supposed to do something, but I can't remember. See what I'm saying? It's phases, it's steps.
Yes.
The same way as steps to recovering, it's steps to discovering.
Right.
So once you take those steps and realize, because you have to add them up, like I don't want to take for granted, there are individuals the first time they see it, they get it, and they're like, this isn't working for my life. For some of us, it took time and time again of running into that brick wall to realize it's time to stop running into this brick wall. And that's when the discovery finally sets in, and you're like, I need to change this about myself.
Right. Okay. I think I like that. Running into a brick wall of addiction and trouble. So, ladies and gentlemen, so please tell us your journey, comment. If you're one of those people that is struggling with some addiction, we are speaking about how to conquer. And my guest here tells me actually it's not even about conquering. And so I'm going to ask him to explain what he means by it's not about conquering. Actually, by the way, so tell me, off the set you were telling me it's not about conquering.
No.
So, tell me what it is about.
So when most people, you got to look at addiction. So most people look at addiction and it's like, first thing you think of are the red flags, the addictions that everybody know is wrong, like don't do drugs.
Yes.
Or alcohol is bad.
Yes.
Need to quit smoking. Like they think automatically of the addictions that the world say are bad.
Yes.
Nobody thinks about the addictions that aren't necessarily bad, but they're still addicted. Like I said about love, somebody could be addicted to love. Loving someone isn't bad, but trying to find love without loving yourself first, that's not good.
Yes.
Somebody that's addicted to work. Going to work isn't bad, but when you let work consume your life, to that you have no time for nothing else, not even your family, your friends, your loved one, not even your own personal time, then that can be bad because you're not making room for anything else. So it's not that you're necessarily conquering the addiction. You have to learn how to control the addiction, because the addiction never goes away. You don't just stop loving and be like, I want to get rid of love. No, you don't eliminate from your life. You can't just say, I quit working. So the addiction is always there. Like, even though I didn't necessarily conquer alcohol, I learned how to control my consumption of alcohol. That alcohol didn't control my life, didn't control my time, didn't take away from my family. Like, I was literally on a day-to-day drinking binge.
Okay.
Versus that was consuming my life. I had no control over it. It was like, I called it, because I like beer, and I called it, oh, it's beer 30. Oh, it's beer 30 somewhere. And so it didn't matter what time it was. If I felt like this was the time to start drinking, I would start drinking, and it would just consume 6 to 8 hours of my life.
Wow.
So that was me having no control, and I felt like I had to do that. So when I say that you're not conquering it, you're learning to control it, because it's a day-by-day process. You don't just say, I'm done drinking. The same way you don't discover it, you don't discover how to recover from it. So it's like a day-to-day thing. You have to consciously make a day-to-day effort that I'm not going to backslide and go down that road. Now, there are times that people refer to it as fall off the wagon, but get back on.
Right.
Don't think that you're wrong and you failed because you relapsed or made a mistake. It's time to get back on, because again, you're not conquering it. You learn to control yourself and control that addiction day to day.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, so it's a question of getting the control back. It is, you know, kind of recovering yourself, just discovering that you're really like being driven by something that is really that you're not in control anymore.
Yes.
And it's a question of gaining back your control.
Exactly.
Finding your control again and being in charge of your life.
Exactly.
Wonderful, wonderful idea. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I believe you're following this conversation. Please let us know what your thoughts are as we go on with this wonderful conversation. So those of you that are following us on YouTube, I just want to check if there are any comments, and so that we can read them. Please send us your comments. Let's know what you think about this issue of alcohol addiction. I know there are people that have families struggling. They have they could be themselves struggling with something that is of some form of addiction or another. And I'm going to ask you to, you know, describe some of the other addiction. Maybe we focus so much on alcohol. Alcohol is very visible because if somebody is really addicted to alcohol, everybody can tell. You know, it's a very public thing. But there are other things that are other addiction that are not public, and we can talk about that as well. All right, so we have Rachel Moredi is tuned in, and Rahab Damboki giving us here a thumbs up. Great conversation, Pastor Gigi. So yes, so we have people that are following this conversation. What are the other addictions? Maybe perhaps other than alcohol. You know, you've been battled. You gained back control of alcohol. And that's, I think, what you're saying. The conquest or the victory starts from gaining back control.
Exactly.
So, are there other areas of addiction that maybe perhaps we're not talking about?
One that I personally see, and we talk about it, nobody actually dives into it, but one that's going on around the world. It's not, I'm talking about all age groups, from young to old. I'm talking about kids all the way down to 6, 7, 5, all the way to the oldest individual you can think of. And it's that needing to belong or needing to be approved.
Right.
And you see this through the method of social media. Social media has consumed our lives so much that we think in order to be approved or belong, we have to be accepted through social media. So many people live their life by how many likes they can give, how many comments they get, or just basically trying to live a life that, let's be honest, most of the times those lives that we see online or through social media aren't really their lives. But we want that need to belong. We want that urge, that yearning to be a part of society, that we are not truly being ourselves. And so when you talk about being yourself, that's part of that addiction. Like, alcoholism, that's not me being myself, that's me trying to find myself. Somebody that's addicted to, I said earlier, love, that's because they aren't in tune with themselves. They're trying to find somebody else to validate who they are. And so one of the biggest things now, that outlet is through social media, and you see we have so much of it causing so many issues that stem from like bullying through social media, suicide going up because people that don't think they fit into what the world says that they should be, like that need of belonging, that need of being, that's that part of saying that I belong to society. That's one of the biggest addictions that you see going on right now, but nobody sees it that way because they just think, oh, social media is just for entertainment.
Absolutely. And I remember actually, by the way, I don't know whether you came across this book by Joyce Meyer. Joyce Meyer did write a book, among the many, you know, she's written over 60 books. One of her books is Approval Addiction. And I got that book in my house. I bought it a long time ago, actually, I think 2005 or 4, something like that. And it's amazing, actually, what you're talking about. And that was before social media really became like big as it is today. So approval addiction, you know, the idea that, you know, the likes. These days, I think we just all slaves of that little thing called like.
Yes, exactly.
You want a lot of that, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
So whatever it takes to get that little like.
They do whatever it takes. You see the challenges, you see the people making weird videos, but I want people to understand, like, it stems on top of that, like that approval, like approval addiction, like that you were just mentioning by Joyce Myers. It's one of those, like, when it started out with alcohol, it was like, oh, you can't party if you're not having a drink.
Yes.
You can't party if you're not smoking weed. You can't party if you're not doing these drugs.
Yes.
You can't be a part of this social scene if your outfit doesn't look like this. Like, your social status isn't at this level. Like, that's that approval addiction. It just, and it starts small for some people and then it grows. Some people, it balloons out of control. We've lost so many people, and there's still prayers for their family, their friends, the loss of those loved ones, that their addiction ballooned out of control. Like we have literally watched, especially our young kids, they're so young, and it's ballooning out of control with their addiction for that approval at such an early age. Like, they're supposed to be being kids, and they want the approval as though, like, they don't approve of themselves, and it's like, you're 10, you're supposed to be outside playing, or you're supposed to be having fun with your friends, like enjoying life. But that approval addiction, like you said, that's what drives so many people, and that's what most addictions stem from, of wanting to be approved, whether it be somebody that doesn't feel seen in their own family. You hear it all the time, that turn to drugs, that turn to hard drugs, or that young lady that doesn't have that approval from that male figure like her father, she turns to men, or that male figure that doesn't have that approval from their mother, and then next thing you know, they become abusive husbands. That approval and that need for approval drives so many addictions, and today one of the leading needs of approval just happens to be one of those social media fronts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so thank you very much, those of you that are following this conversation. We're talking about addictions, specifically alcohol addiction, and my guest here, Billy, is linking that to the idea of approval, you know, addiction. Sort of, I mean, people want to be approved, they want to be in the right company, and all that. So now we are going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to continue with this conversation. Stay tuned. This is a Morning Digest, so don't go away. We just take a very, very short break, and then we come back shortly and continue with the conversation. So see you in a few seconds. Thank you.
There is no town, there is no city, there is no nation without fathers.
They went before us and set the stage of what we see in the gospel today.
It's immediately when I got saved.
Wow.
The Lord placed in my heart passion for souls.
They fought the battles and prepared the way. Good marketing makes the company look smart. Great marketing makes the customer feel smart. Are you looking for a place to advertise your upcoming conference, church meeting, or ladies' meeting? Look no further. Elevate TV is offering you a chance to advertise from as low as 5,000 Kenyan shillings. Talk to us today. Call us on 0705 872237.
Kids Entertainment.
I have the enemy in sight. 18 degrees by 4 degrees. Factor by
Inspiring moments.
In life's journey, there is that one defining moment.
I remember I touched them, they were still warm. And I just told them sorry.
Deep conversations on spiritual, political, and economic issues.
In 2017, you offered your candidacy for the President of the Republic of Kenya.
Top local gospel tunes. Youthful, engaging conversations.
The person who won me over to Christ, before I came to know he was a pastor, we already clicked, we already developed a very strong rapport.
Powerful live church services.
God was in the business of restoring apostles to the body of Christ.
Guidance to help pastors stand strong.
There are certain major attacks that men of God face in the life and ministry.
According to our tests, this man, we are just sure about 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours. 3 hours.
Oh my God.
Focus on issues affecting women.
Today on Sister Talk, we are going to discuss young wives.
And then those surprising moments, sometimes anakuja unashtuka, hey, mtu amekuja na flower, unasema hata sikuwa naitarajia, si birthday.
Empowering talks on health and wellness.
The services, they are deep. Yeah, they have ridges, and these tend to hide food. So we make sure they are super clean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Spice up your weekend with top-rated Christian movies.
An army of believers and will stand on your word above all else.
Okay, so welcome back. This is the Morning Digest. Today we're talking about addictions, alcohol addiction specifically, and how to conquer that problem. And my guest here has been sharing with us his story and of victory, recovery, how he got back control. I think that's what Billy is talking about. He's talking about taking back control. And so before we went to the break, we were talking about some of the other forms of addiction. And so let's get on with the conversation. Please, tell us what you think. If you have any questions for us, please give us, tell us, write your question on the social media platforms, and then we'll be able to connect and follow on this conversation. So, my friend Billy, we were talking about some of the other form of addictions that have become like very subtle. I mean, especially social media addiction, the whole idea of people wanting so much to be liked and approved, and young people and old people across the board.
Yes.
People doing all kinds of crazy things because they want that approval, that that validation.
Yes.
And it's become a real addiction. What has that taken away from life as we know it? Maybe you can begin to open up that space for us.
So the main thing, the key, the one thing that is taken away from us is time. Time is our biggest asset. It's like basically the only thing that we have somewhat control over. And we spend so much time, hours on top of hours. Think about those people that are making those videos or making those channels, trying to trying to seek that approval. They're online scrolling, they're taking up all that time. It's no different than when I said my addiction with alcohol, like how it spent so much time, from 6 to 8 hours per day. And that's not even counting the after effect, the 4 or 5 hours of recovery the next day, trying to get back. So you look at it and you lost 10 to 12 to 14 hours of a day between drinking and recovering, that not including sleep. The same thing is happening with like social media. Like you spend hours on it to the point where you go to sleep with it. And then first thing when you wake up, what's the first thing most people do? Grab their phone.
Yeah.
And they spend hours on top of it. Every time they get a break, it's just time that's being consumed, and it's time that's not being utilized to do something else that can better their life, that can better their family life, that can do something better for themselves as a whole, not just for themselves, but to leave their mark for those that come behind them. But instead, we spend so much, and that's what addictions do. Addictions take up so much of your time. The only biggest asset you have, it takes up, because you look at the end of that addiction, no matter how you look at it, I've never met somebody on their deathbed that looks back and say, man, I wish I had a bigger house, because that's what social media push. I wish I had a bigger car, because social media says, let's have this nice car. Oh, I wish I had a lot more friends, because social media is about growing your friend list. And at the end of the day, that person that's on their deathbed, all those thousands of friends aren't there with them. It's those same loved ones that they neglected their time from. And every single body that you see on their deathbed, they all turn back around and say, I wish I had more time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really feel very, very strongly. I think this is something you've touched about, the whole idea of addictions steal from us.
Yes.
They really rob us of time and an opportunity to live. And to be the best we can be.
Yes.
Now, Billy, you're here. You know, you've become so, and you can tell us about that. You know, your career, current career as a global speaker, coach, and trainer. And so, tell us how you've gone from. You know, you told us actually you just recently retired from your military career.
Yes.
We've talked about the addiction bit of it, and thankfully you say it wasn't really the fault of family or anything like that. You look back and you know, I got myself in that mess.
Yes.
But then now you're a global speaker and coach and trainer. How did you go from that to what you are today? And maybe you can tell us the secret. I have thrown that word again, the secret.
So, first off, I'll tell you right now, the secret is really not a secret.
Yes.
The secret to success is you. Think about it. When you think about success.
Yes.
Success takes time. Success takes hard work and dedication.
Very good.
But guess what?
Yeah.
That time is your time.
Yes.
That hard work and dedication is you.
Yes.
The secret to success is you.
Right.
So in order to hit that success, you have to find out who you are.
Right.
And throughout my career, when I was dealing with my addictions, and I saw other people dealing with addictions, because remember I told you, you can spot other people's addictions without it's knowing your own.
Yes.
But then it took mentors, family members, loved ones.
Yes.
Realizing that addiction, because one of those things with addiction is already got control of your life. You don't know that it has control of your life, but if somebody comes in and they're trying to control you by saying you need to do this, this, and this, they're trying to control your life. You're not listening to them.
Right.
So one of the biggest parts of not just self-discovery, if you're on the outside and you see somebody battling addiction, you need to empathize, not sympathize. Because people will sympathize and be like, oh, you're addicted, and then it does nothing but push that addiction even more, because now that person feels like, I'm a burden, I'm this and that. It's an empathize, like, I see you're going through something.
Right.
How can I help? Or what can we do to help you? Or do you want help? Because one of the biggest things with addiction is you can't help a person that's not ready to be helped.
Absolutely. That's very, very interesting. And I think you can say that again, because, as somebody who actually was alcohol dependent, totally controlled by this thing, hours, and it robbed of your time. I like the way you're describing it. You spend, say, 6 hours drinking, maybe another 6 hours recovering from that.
Yes.
And then some bit of sleep, and then repeat.
And repeat. It's rinse and repeat. It's just on a loop.
Oh, my goodness.
And you don't notice it until some people, like I said, some people are blessed. They have that wake-up call. Not always a good one. I've seen people, like, you see it all the time, like, for example, if we stick with alcohol, somebody might have got a DUI, got close to jail time. We've seen people that have actually caused wrecks that ended in death or hurt or bodily harm to somebody else.
Yes.
And that was their wake-up call. It's so sad that we have so many wake-up calls that happen at the expense of others. Because normally when you see this, the person that's dependent on, like, say, alcohol, it doesn't hurt them. It hurts their family. It hurts the family members of others, and they're left with the consequences and that guilt. And so those are some people's wake-up call. I was blessed. I had wake-up call, like I said, family, friends, mentors. Over time, they tried to tell me, but I didn't think it was an issue. They call it functioning alcoholic. Like, it's basically you're able to function. Nobody necessarily outside of your close-knit circle knows it. So those individuals stopped trying to control. They stopped trying to sympathize. They became more to empathy. And then I had mentors, those people that see something in you, and they're like, hey, I see something in you, but we got to bring it out. And they'll slowly bring it out, and you realize I can't be who I am supposed to be. I can't live in the purpose that God has me for, that he created me for, unless I get rid of what's controlling me. And thanks to the help of loved ones and friends and mentors, that's how I was able, towards the end of my military career, to find my passion, find my purpose, realize what my gift was that God gave me to start, not just use it for myself, because you know a gift is not something that you just keep to yourself.
Right.
Normally with gifts, you give them to people.
Right.
And so when I realized what my gift was, what God created me for, then that led to becoming the speaker, becoming the coach, the trainer, because it was time to give that gift to others and help others, not just dealing with addictions, but help others find their purpose. Because remember, I told you, addiction doesn't have to be not only the bad things. Addictions are normally other things as well, like self-doubt. You're addicted to doubting yourself, so you don't believe that you can do what your purpose is.
I like that bit of the self-doubt, aspects of it. So, and somebody can become like dependent. I mean, addicted to the idea of self-doubt, and it's like they accept that as their reality, while it's really it's just kind of like learned. I think it's called learned
behavior.
Behavior, and kind of like learned weakness. So you kind of learn how to self-doubt yourself, and you perfect that art, and you constantly,
So I want to say something for the viewer, because you brought up a key word that fuels a lot of the addiction. You said weakness. What many people don't realize, most people that have addictions are some of the strongest people in the world, because they're internally, even when they don't know it, battling addictions that you would not think they're battling. For example, do you know how much strength, let's talk about alcohol, you know how much strength it takes to be a person that can drink 6 to 8 hours a day, try to recover, live through life? Remember, I told you, functioning alcoholic. They're working, they're providing for families, and 9 times out of 10, the world has no clue that they're battling that addiction. You know how strong you have to be for that? Think about a person that might not be battling alcohol. They might be battling something else. They go to sleep and you see them at work and I'm so tired. They're not doing a good job. They're depressed at work. They don't want to do this because they have a separate type of addiction. But like I told you, everybody has an addiction. So it's not just a weakness. We all have our strengths in certain areas. Like when you see somebody that gets married, they say, where you're weak, I'm strong, and where I'm weak, you're strong. So I might have addiction, but the people that are in my circle are helping me pulling me up with their strengths and bringing me out, because it's not a weakness. They're just using their strengths to help me with my strengths. So an addiction is not necessarily a weakness. It's more so a hindrance for yourself, because it's not allowing you to live in the purpose and live your life to the fullest, because it's taking your time. So learning how to deal with that and mold that and continue to strengthen yourself, then you can battle up out of that addiction.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I think there is something I want to ask, and I'm trying to place how to ask it, because do you think that, I'm trying to pin down this recovery point, that turning point. So there is the sense of, first of all, just waking up to the reality that I'm really have lost control. So that's probably an important pillar.
That is. So point number one, the turning point, the first phase is realizing you have an issue. If you never realize you have an issue, you can't fix it. So the moment you realize you have an issue, that's your starting point.
Very good.
No matter what the issue may be. Think about a corporation. They can have a bunch of people all of a sudden quitting. why are we having so many people quitting? Once they get to the root of why people are quitting, they just started the process of solving the issue. That's phase one, when you hit the root of the problem.
Right.
And that's realizing you have a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's the first thing. Waking up to the real issue, seeing the monster that is controlling you, and really like facing it and saying, yeah, this is it. What's the next thing that is very most important that should be linked to that?
So the second part that is linked to that, and many people will not understand, well, I don't want any people to just go overhead, and I'm going to help people understand that. Realizing that you did not get into that addiction by yourself, so you're not going to get out of it by yourself. You're going to need help. Whether it's like for me, it started that addiction, I got into it from what? Partying with friends.
Yes.
Somebody that's yearning for love. They got into that addiction because somebody that they felt should have gave them love didn't give it to them.
Yes.
Somebody that's addicted to work. They got into that addiction because their boss or whoever, their family member was like, you need to keep working to bring in more money. Somebody helped you get into that addiction. You did not do it by yourself.
Yes.
So it's going to take help getting out. And that's seeking, whether it be, some people, it depends on your addiction level. Some people, it might just be friends or family. And then there's certain addictions you might need medical help.
Yes.
Some addictions you might need psychological help.
Yeah.
Some addictions might need your pastor or whoever your advisor is spiritually.
Yeah.
It might be money. You might need financial help. So you're going to need a financial advisor. Depending on your addiction, you didn't get into it by yourself, so you got to realize that you're going to need help getting out of it. And that's phase 2 of helping you with your recovery.
Absolutely. And you've reminded me something because especially alcohol. Remember, alcohol is a very expensive lifestyle.
Yes.
It is.
It is.
Especially, let's talk about that, you know.
So,
how much does it cost, you know, to really burn 6 hours?
So you got to realize it all goes back to the same thing. All of the addictions, they all cost the same. They cost a lot, but
Yes.
they all cost the same. So you can't just look at the monetary. All addictions cost your time. So when you think about addictions for, as I said, the 6 hours, this and that, and most people would think like, oh, you spent this much money on alcohol. No, you had to work this many hours to make this much money to be able to buy that alcohol. And how do you work that? You took away from your time. You think about another addiction. We keep tapping into love or social media.
Yes.
You took away this much time, which allowed you, because if we talk about social media, take away this much time and you didn't make this much money, or you did and you spent that much money because you're trying to impress people so that you look better on social media. It all takes time. So it's not just a financial gain that can be taken away time from your family, because like at the end of the day, you go years and years and years and you look back and all that time you lost with your family, that memories you lost for your family. Remember, I told you, time is your biggest asset. Money can be replaced.
Yes.
Time cannot be replaced.
Oh my
so
God.
time is the biggest thing that you lose when you're battling an addiction.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. And I think, Billy, you really nailed it. You know, it's not just the amount of money you spent in the pub or wherever, the place you drink. That's just a very small portion of it.
Yes.
It is the time you had to spend to make the money and then come and use it to buy that, time, and the people you had to sacrifice, the relationships, that you had to forego and all that. So it's a very expensive thing. And so we talk about modern day slavery, where you're working, you're spending all your time, your precious God-given talents and skills and gifts to fund and to fund an enterprise, to retain an industry, a whole enterprise that feeds on something that if you looked dark and hard, long and hard, and you woke up to it, you'd see, I'm sliding into the darkness.
Yes.
Very good. So, it's me now who has said that. It should have come from you, but I think, your story is really like wake me up to see. Because I know, I've seen some literature which actually say, for example, and maybe you can clarify this. Literature says that somebody who did research on alcohol, and they discovered that 50% of accidents in murders were either on someone who was drunk, on 50% of the time, somebody was drunk, or the perpetrator was drunk.
Yes.
So 50%. And whether we talk about murders, accidents, or something like that. So in other words, if you removed just alcohol out of that whole thing, then you have eliminated 50% of very many social programs. Is that correct?
I do not believe that's correct. I believe the numbers are correct.
Yes.
But you got to look at how numbers work. So I can tell you a number. So I can tell you 50% of marriages end in divorce because of this.
Yes.
But at the same time, I can also say this percentage of marriages end in divorce because of this.
Yes.
When you start looking at the numbers, remember I told you, we're back to time.
Yeah.
If I pull those numbers out and say, think alcohol never existed.
Yes.
I still can give you a number that says 50%.
Right.
I can find a way to produce a number that says 50%. Because remember, I told you, addictions are not just one particular thing. If I got the stats of people that were having wrecks because they actually didn't know how to drive. They like careless driving, distracted driving, driving on their cell phones, not hands-free. I'm pretty sure I can get you another number. The statistics give you a percentage, but you have to take in the variables of what if that, for one, that statistics wasn't there, or two, what is the underlying issue? And it always comes back to something different. So if I take the alcohol, because I do believe that is a correct statistics of the percentage-wise, but even if I remove that and say wrecks, then that included alcohol, because I'm saying I'm not taking away from how serious they are, because they are serious.
Yeah.
There's going to be something else to take its place.
Right.
So depending on what you look at and how you look at it, yes, the statistics are right, but that's not the underlying issue that is at hand.
Yeah, yeah. So, so there are many other things that obviously are contributing to the whole fallout. What's the role in terms of recovery? So in terms of recovery, we've said there are two things. One is that wake-up moment where you actually just accept the fact that, look, I'm in trouble.
Yes.
Number two is the idea of you've got to accept help.
Yes.
You've got to realize that you didn't just get into this mess all alone. You were aided by people around you or circumstances around you. And then you got to look very hard and accept that you need help to come out of it. So for you, for example, where did your help come from? And maybe you can talk about that. And then as we, then chart the way forward.
So my help originally, because people, you hear the saying all the time, my help coming from the Lord.
Yes.
So yes, that was my backbone, my pillar. Like I knew my roots, so my foundation was already set. It was just that I got away from the things that made up my foundation.
Yes.
It also took me making sure the right people were in my life.
Right.
Because it does no good if you're trying to get away from something and you still have the wrong individuals in your life. You know what they say, if 5 of your friends are a millionaire and you become the 6th friend, guess what? You're gonna eventually become the 6th millionaire.
Right.
If 5 of your friends are addicted to alcohol, guess what? If you join, you're gonna be the 6th person addicted to alcohol. So it all comes around to who you surround yourself, who you put into your circle. So if you don't have the right people in your circle, then you're not going to be able to find that help or get to the level that you need to be. So that's one of the biggest things, making sure your social norms are the right social norms.
Okay, very good. So you had to find a way of reorganizing the people around you, and that actually did help. Maybe we could say, fortunately, you're not, you didn't go all the way where you were literally on some life support machine to recover from alcohol. And thank God that you find your way out. So tell us then, about your current pursuit, global speaker and coach and trainer. How is that going? And how is the journey? And where are you right now on that?
So it's going... For me, it's going amazing.
Yes.
The reason I say it's going amazing because everywhere I go, whoever I talk to, it's always that one person, because that's my goal. I don't care if I got a room full of people or if I'm online and through Zoom, because with COVID, they got to do so much stuff through Zoom and all that now.
Yes, we all had to learn the Zoom thing.
If it's just that one life you change,
yes,
I believe in a ripple effect. So remember I told you about a circle, you become the 6th one. So if I'm in a room and I help that one person, because they don't believe it or not, they're helping me, because recovery is one day at a time.
Right.
So knowing that I'm helping people, that's also helping me deal with my issues as well, because I'm not prone from not having issues as well. I'm still human. I also get that one person, and that one person starts that ripple effect, because guess what happens? When you see something great happen, and it inspires you or it changes your life, what do people most likely do? They go tell somebody else.
Yes.
And then if it changes their life, they go tell somebody else. It starts a ripple effect. The same way we started a ripple effect for the negative stuff, we got to do the same thing with the ripple effect for the positive stuff, because we talk about social media. I remember certain parts of my life growing up, there was no social media.
Okay.
So when it first started, they would happen. Hey, I got this, you should get this. And it just started a ripple effect. So if you want to start and create change, not just in your life, but in the life of others, you have to start at a ripple effect. And guess what? That ripple effect starts with you, which is why, remember I told you, you are the secret to your success. I had to start with myself, because my success is dependent on helping others, not just my family, but helping others, because my gift is bigger than me. God gave me a purpose, and that was to help serve others. And so my success had to start with myself by being a better version of myself, being the best version that I can be of myself, because I want to help others be the best version of themselves. And so far, it's going great.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I like the ripple effect, metaphor, where you're saying, look, it kind of like you've got to believe that once you get started and you make one move and start, developing yourself, discovering your gifts and purpose.
Yes.
Very big terms, gifts and purpose. Those are very, very huge things. But you're a global speaker, so whenever you get a chance, then you can talk about that in grand terms. But then you say it kind of starts a ripple effect. We have to see ourselves as the people that star the change we want to see in other people's lives and even in our own lives.
Exactly.
And that's amazing, amazing. So is there anything else that maybe you would like to speak to us about in terms of a path to success, path to, greatness? I'm using those terms and maybe, so is there other things that you would like to tell us about how to really become the kind of person that you want to become?
The main thing, because I know we keep hitting on it, but people really need to hear it.
Yes.
It's time. Because the world will make you believe like it just takes like hitting the lottery or things just happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight.
Okay.
It takes time. Think about it. When you look at a clock, it could be 12 o'clock in the afternoon one day. 24 hours from now, guess what? It's going to be 12 o'clock again in the afternoon. Time doesn't change. Our perception of time changes.
Yes.
And that's the illusion that messes people up, because our perception of time will have us believing things happen faster than they're supposed to happen. Like I watch so many people, like, let's think about social media, everybody like money, obsessed with money. And they're like, I want to be the next millionaire. Well, most people don't even understand the average person doesn't become a millionaire until they're 49. Like, yes, there are older millionaires, there are younger millionaires, but it takes time. So if you want to be a business owner, the average business takes at least a whole entire 10 years before it's fully consumed into society to where it's considered a success. Everything takes time, and when people realize that the perception of time needs to change, and that hard work and dedication and the time that you have to put into becoming a success, which is also you, it takes time. That's the main thing people need to understand, is time is the thing that you need to take advantage of, because it's your biggest asset, and you really don't have time to be wasting time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I love that. You don't have time to be wasting time. And this is a very, very interesting conversation. You've mentioned something very interesting, and I kind of like find that interesting, that the average person becomes, the average millionaire hits that number around the age of 49.
Yes.
All right. And you told me of the set you're 40. So you've got 9 years to become a millionaire, right? If you're not already one. And maybe perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that. And then, of course, an average business, for a business to really have an impact, takes about 10 years. And that's very, very true. I happen to be, to study business. That's my area of study and pursuit. So I totally relate with that. Okay, so Timothy Makasa is following this conversation and saying absolutely true. And others that are following this conversation. So, Billy, I really like your story. I like, your journey of recovery. So, somebody who is an addict and right now battling, looking back at the whole journey. This probably, if you were to look into the face of that person, and this is not your final comments, it's just kind of like, I'm just, you've talked about time. I really love the idea of time. Somebody who's right now battling with addiction, what is the one thing they need to wake up to? And right now, the message, come on, open your eyes. What must they see now for them to begin their journey of turning?
So it's not necessarily of what they see now, it's what they need to understand.
Yes.
So we live in a life and it's past, present, future.
Right.
So normally when you're with addiction, you've been dragging that past weight behind you for some time.
Okay.
Now you need to understand, if the person that you vision yourself to be 5 years from now, is that person going to be able to look back? Because remember, back on time.
Yes.
Is the person that you want to be 5 years from now going to be able to look back at the person you are today and say either thank you for turning your life around and getting us to where we are 5 years from now, or is that person going to look back and feel sad or hurt that you did not turn it around and look where we are now? Or even better yet, are you not going to turn your life around to ensure that you're even here 5 years from now?
Right.
So it's all back around time. You have to let the stuff that was holding you back from the past go. You have to vision yourself from the future, and you need to make the changes you need to make in the present so that you can be the person that you want to be in the future.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So you got to have a vision of your future. And maybe 5 years time frame is good enough. You can look out in the next 5 years and ask yourself a very, very hard question. Is this the kind of person I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be 5 years from now? And when I look back at me now, will I be looking back and regretting that I never made the changes that I needed to make? Or will I look back and say, yeah, I'm glad I made that move? So there has to be that personal awakening, as it were, a very, very, very honest look. And then the other thing you've mentioned, which I love so much, is the baggage. You've got to look at your past and see that chain of baggage.
Yes.
And really, just look at it and say, yes, I can cut this.
Yes.
I can cut this. Wow, amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having a conversation here about conquering alcohol addiction, other kind of addictions in general. And in fact, my guest here has talked about social media as a major cause of addiction, major addiction actually a lot of people are not aware of, or rather awake to. And the thing that social media addiction robs you is your time. And time is the most precious asset in life. So my friend Billy, I want you to look at that camera right there. And I want you to speak, and I'm seeing somebody here, somebody say, time is a real loss in addiction. I love the way Bill Graham Jr. brings out that time is the key. So I think that's really, your core message, and I think it's very, very profound. I'd like you to look at that camera and just give a very quick closing remark in like 40 seconds.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Yes.
So I want you to understand, we talked about the past. There is nothing you can do to change the past. The past has happened, you're not going to be able to change it, but you can change the person you are today so that you can be the person you want to be in the future. Your past, that was not a failure. It was lessons learned, things that you learned about yourself. But you need to understand now that you have a purpose. God gave you a gift, and he meant for you to use that gift to live in the purpose that he designed you for. So remember, it's all about time, and the time is now. No opportunity wasted. The time is now for you to start living in your purpose, with purpose, on purpose.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to bring this to a close. Thank you very much for staying tuned in on the Morning Digest. I've been your host, Godfrey Gishoke, and thank you for those of you that have been following this conversation and, commenting and, following us and giving us your feedback and how you appreciate our conversation today. So we got to bring this to a close. Thank you so much. It was nice having you here, and thank you very much, Billy, for coming on the show. And God bless you. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best as in your short stay in Nairobi, Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you again, same time, same place, and bye for now.